So, we have come to that time of the year again, and it's time to discuss the best and worst books I read this year. But this year there's a little twist to it this time. I didn't read a single bad book this year, oh my god. That's quite the achievement, isn't it? Well, hello there, it's me Suited in Black / Janne Karneus, and we're here just to talk about the best books I read this year. And there's quite a few, and that's actually quite impressive actually, to be like, I didn't read a single book I disliked this year. There are a couple of dishonorable mentions, but like I say every year, it doesn't mean that they're terrible books per se, it's just that I just find them slightly underwhelming, let's say. And of course, you know the drill, like except for this year where there is the best book I read this year, the rest of the list is in no particular order, so it's not like listed from like best to least best. There is one book, like I say, that I really enjoyed, which was a reread, but everything else is just kind of there. It's not really to say these are better than others. So let's begin immediately with the best book of this year, and that is Rosemarys Baby by Ira Levin. Like the first time I read this book, it impressed me so much at how frightening it is, but also how it takes like very familiar gothic themes of, you know, isolation and the horror of like let's say the devil or something, and it brings it into a modern setting of like New York, and like there's loads of people mingling about, and there's like a big kind of old building that it all takes place in. And I honestly think Rosemary's Baby alongside the film is two of the greatest creations of the horror genre. So absolutely first place goes to Rosemary's Baby. I love this book, I love the film, it is so impressive. And then on to the other best of the year. So like I say, no particular order. So the next of the best of the year is a comic book called The Other Side. I forgot who it's by, but I'll show the image right here so you can see who wrote the book and illustrated it. But I thought this book was really effective. Like the use of visuals and the kind of story from two different sides, I thought was really effective in telling a very gritty and quite frightening anti-war story. I think it's anti-Vietnam, where it's like about the horrors of that war. But I thought this was done really effectively. It scared me so much reading this book. It was a thrill ride, and the visuals really added to the quite visceral kind of experience this gave me. So The Other Side is an excellent book, and it also, like I say, inspires me to create my own books of like graphic novels and etc. The next one best of the year is a comic that I found on GlobalComix, which is a new, quite a relatively new website where you can read comics for free, or purchase comics, or even find where you can get physical versions of these books. But the next of the best of the year is called Brina the Cat by Papercut, sorry, and I'll show the image right here. And then I thought this was a really cute, really fun little adventure of like a cat protagonist. It's more for children, yeah, of course, but I thought it was really charming and it was really sweet, and it's the perfect kind of story of showing how you know, we like to think like animals should be free, but they also teaches children sort of to love animals, to empathize with animals, and to give them the comfort and love that they kind of deserve. So that's the kind of a slightly more surface level kind of way of interpreting Brina the Cat, but I thought it was just a very cute story, and I just had to put it on to the best of the year. And next on best of the year is called Blackstone Fell. Again, I forgot who it's by, but I thought this book was really terrifically written. It was like excellent writing, and I felt the atmosphere. It felt quite old-fashioned, but still at the same time very modern and very kind of relevant to what's happening these days. So yeah, Blackstone Fell. This is a slightly shorter kind of praise of the book, because once again I kind of forgot what happens in it. But I thought it was really fun and really just a beautifully written story. So So absolutely, it makes its way to the best of the year. The second to last best of the year is called Doctor Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining by Stephen King. And I thought this book, at first when I first read it, Doctor Sleep, I just kind of gave up on it because I just kind of couldn't quite sink my teeth into it. But then I really enjoyed how it developed on the character of Danny and what he's going through. He goes to this hospital to use his power for benevolent reasons. He comes across a kid with similar powers to him, and then there's like this evil group that are trying to take the power away from like children, because I think it says that children have the strongest shining power. But I thought this was a really fun thriller and a really good kind of continuation of a character we really feared for in The Shining. Though I do still stand by I prefer The Shining, this Doctor Sleep is a really good sequel, and I recommend it to people who really enjoy, well, the supernatural elements of The Shining. The final best book of the year, which I think is quite the surprise, but I think it should be on the list. It's called Neon Ghosts: A Witch's Sin by the YouTuber Daniel Green. And I thought, yeah, I enjoyed this book. I like the world building. It's a little bit clunky still, where there are some noticeable kind of slip-ups in like spelling, writing, grammar, and some kind of awkward, I think, kind of use of language. But other than that, I think it says a lot that I put it on the best of the list because I enjoyed it. It felt meaty, it was interesting, and I was immersed into the world building that Daniel Green presented. So I think it should be on the list, and I think that says a lot. I'm repeating myself, I'm so sorry, but it's just that it was a good book. I liked it and I recommend it for people into cyberpunk or a bit of supernatural kind of stuff. So, and yeah, so good job, Daniel Green. You really made me enjoy one of your books. And now for some honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention goes to the indie book, The Wolf and the Hawk by Julian Greystoke, or Emily Lipke. I don't know how to pronounce her actual name. But like I say in my review of it, it was really well written and really well edited that I just went by. It was flowed really beautifully, and I really enjoyed some of the really good language that she uses, like the hooves, she compares the hooves to like the sound of the war drums, and I thought that's really effective. She does say it twice, so it got slightly repetitive, but other than that, it just shows you the power of editing, which I'm trying to learn myself, but it's taking time because it's a skill. But yeah, one of the good books this year. I really liked it, but it just makes it to the honorable mention because I did find its world building a little bit bare bones and not fully immersive. The next on the honorable mention is called A Month in the Country. Again, I forgot who it's by, but I'll show you the thing right here. But I thought this book was a really interesting take on, I think it's after the First World War or the Second World War, and it's about him just kind of, the main character is just kind of needing time away from the country, and he goes to a church in the countryside and needs to spend a bit of time to maybe reflect. I thought it was really interesting and it's a really short read, so I definitely recommend it for those interested in, I suppose, kind of a introspective war narrative. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I interpreted A Month in the Country. And the final honorable mention is The Spire by, I think, Simon Spurrier. I thought this book was really well illustrated and had an interesting plot. I've seen some reviews how some readers were confused what was happening, and I kind of agree sometimes. It felt so much was happening, you kind of get lost in it a little bit, and not in the best way. But other than that, I thought it was a really unique and very kind of intriguing kind of murder mystery with an interesting main character, but the only thing I just didn't like that much was the censoring, basically. It just kind of disrupted the flow of reading the book. And like you see at the beginning of the video, no worst books of the year, so that's an achievement. But these are the dishonorable mentions, so like you see, they are dishonorable, but they're not bad books by any chance. When I say dishonorable, it's in I didn't hate them, but they were just maybe a bit underwhelming, maybe not enough for me to really grasp and enjoy. So the first dishonorable mention goes to Breaking Dawn, which is the fourth and last book of the Twilight series. So like I say, it's not bad. It's far from the worst thing that ever happened, but it's just not the most interesting. I'm not interested in the characters of Twilight. They're just a bit bland and not you can't really grasp them all that well. And I thought Breaking Dawn was maybe had a very boring climax and a very lackluster climax, like I said in my review of it. And I'd say it's more for fans of the series, more than someone who enjoys dabbling in a bit of series, but mostly enjoying standalones most of the time. And the final dishonorable mention, and I'm sorry Daniel Green, but it is Breach of Peace by Daniel Green. But I thought it's an okay book, but it's extremely bare bones. It's just it felt like cherry picking a little bit. It just took a little bit of just some elements and just didn't feel that satisfying. I felt I couldn't grasp the world. I couldn't really be interested in the characters. It was a very kind of clunky book and just a bit kind of meh, really. I didn't hate it by any means, and I thought it was an okay entry into this world he's presenting, but it's just a bit kind of uninteresting in the long run. And that will do for the best and worst books I read this year. So did you read any of these books? Do you agree with what I say? Please do comment down below if you agree or disagree with anything I say. So thank you so much for watching, and this will be the last video I make for 2023. So Happy New Year everyone, and have a wonderful Christmas. I said that backwards, but so I'll be back next year to do a self-critique of my Calvi book, or at least Calvi book 1, or well, part 1 of book 1. So thank you so much for watching, and look forward to that self-critique, because it's a weird book, let's say. So, you know the drill. Until we meet again, I'll be waiting.